I was told that I lacked empathy. When my ex would share his feelings and his triggers, and if I didn't respond in a certain way, he would tell me that I didn't care about him, which wasn't true, and that I lacked empathy. But I had a deeper understanding of emotional trauma and psychology and wounding than he did. So I could see that his big feelings and triggers were not about what I was doing, but were about unprocessed emotional wounds. So in those moments, I would respond with cognitive empathy and I would validate his emotions. But there was no effective empathy. I didn't viscerally feel moved by what he was going through because imagine it like this. When your kiddo comes to you with big emotions, you can cognitively understand why they're having these big emotions, but you can see that due to their lack of awareness and due to their self-centeredness and their inability to regulate, they are missing key pieces of information. And if they had that information, or if they were in a position to be able to receive and absorb that information, then maybe their emotional experience wouldn't be so big. So you sit with them in their emotional experience and you hold space and you validate. And once you have successfully co-regulated and they feel safe, you can start the process of critical thinking and unpacking the faulty beliefs. And this works with kids. I do it with my daughter all the time. It doesn't work with most adults, and it definitely didn't work with my ex. We rarely made it to the critical thinking stage because he felt my cognitive empathy was passive aggressive and condescending, that I didn't have empathy at all, that I didn't care enough about what he was going through, that I was invalidating him, even though I was actually validating him. And he would get mad at me if I wasn't as equally upset as him, or if the intensity of what I was doing didn't match the intensity of the emotions he was having. He would pressure me to agree with his distortions and agree to make behavior changes when I didn't feel like I was the one that needed to make behavior changes. If I didn't agree, then I lacked compassion and empathy. This was such a mind fuck because I have always felt that I was an empathic person. And not just cognitive empathy, like effective empathy. In many situations, I can viscerally feel the intensity of other people's emotions. But it was like because his emotions were rooted in fallacy, my body just didn't respond in the same way, and I can't force my body to respond. So he would get cognitive empathy. But he saw my cognitive empathy as a judgment on the validity of his emotions, even when there was no judgment. Then he would get mad at me for not falling over his emotional experience or agreeing with his distortions when in reality, I was just operating from a different level of awareness. If you relate to this, know that it's not a lack of empathy or compassion or respect. It's simply a communication to you that this person is not operating from the same level of awareness. And any attempt to try to get them to think critically about their emotions is going to be met with what you're doing to them because the world happens to them. It's one of those double bind situations where there is nothing you can do but decide how much energy you want to invest in this relationship and possibly get comfortable being a villain. I was aware of things that he wasn't. And because I had that awareness, I wasn't doting on his emotional experience and I wasn't offering to change my behavior so he didn't have that experience. So because I didn't pander to him, I lacked empathy.